Alright, I'm going to try to analyze the Council of Elrond, looking specifically at listening styles, expectancy violations, and conflict. I'll just pause and say things when I see them.
Strangers from distant lands, friends of old, you've been summoned here to answer the threat of Mordor. Middle-earth stands upon the brink of destruction. None can escape it. You will unite or you will fall. Each race is bound to this fate, this one doom. Bring forth the ring, Frodo.
So Elrond pretty well set up the tone he wants this meeting to have. Right now we don't have any conflict, it's just a what do we do sort of meeting.
Dream. I saw the eastern sky grow dark, but in the west a pale light lingered. A voice was crying, doom is near at hand. Isildur's bane is found.
So did you see that little glance between Elrond and Gandalf right there? Let me see if I can go back and get it. Right there. Oh shit. Right there. I think that this is the first conflict that actually comes into the scene. Boromir has acted in a slightly unexpected way. He's moving towards the ring, talking about his dream. Now, Boromir's actions himself, he could just be trying to add some more information. The ring hasn't been in the public eye for quite some time, so we need to know exactly what we're dealing with. So Boromir's statement isn't totally out of place, but reaching for it, that is pretty unexpected and very disconcerting, so it'd be a negative expectancy violation. Actually pretty large, just because this is a super evil thing and nobody should be touching it. Okay, so what is Gandalf doing? He's using black speech to kind of shock everyone back into what's happening. This is another expectancy violation, although I don't think it's quite so big. People know Gandalf as a sort of... I mean, you just don't know what he's going to do. He's not actually of this world. He ranks as kind of like a low-level angel, so quite disturbed by what Boromir was doing and feels that this is an appropriate response.
Never before has any voice uttered the words of that tongue here in Imladris.
So, again, Elrond doesn't like this expectancy violation, but he doesn't do much more than just say, hey dude, don't do that again. This is my house, my rules.
I ask your pardon, Master Elrond, for the black speech of Mordor may yet be heard in every corner of the West. The ring is altogether evil.
So Gandalf defends his actions, saying that the task at hand is just as great as the actions that he took to return the conversation back to the important thing, the ring itself.
A gift to the foes of Mordor. Why not use this ring?
Knowing how the ring works, this is a pretty stupid statement, but we can't blame Boromir. He had a dream about the ring, and he's been pretty much on the front lines of a pretty brutal conflict for a long time. So he's got some hope in this.
Long has my father, the steward of Gondor, kept the forces of Mordor at bay.
By the blood of our people are your lands kept safe. Give Gondor the weapon of the enemy. Let us use it against him.
You cannot wield it. None of us can. The One Ring answers to Sauron alone. It has no other master.
And what?
So, Aragorn's statement. Let me go back a second. Okay, the One Ring answers to Sauron alone. It has no other master. That's all that needed to be said. Aragorn's previous sentence of "you cannot yield it" is appropriate. It kind of breaks Boromir out of his whole, like, let me take it and defeat the Dark Lord. But Boromir kind of backfires against this. He sees it a little bit as a personal insult. So he follows up with a quick, "and what would a ranger know of this matter?" Calling someone just a ranger, I mean, it wouldn't be bad for a common folk. Ranger is a pretty acceptable job, but they're kind of known as those hobo-type soldiers out in the wilderness. They're not even soldiers of Gondor. They just kind of do their own freelance thing. So although the description might be accurate, it's a little bit derogatory, given Aragorn's true position.
This is no mere ranger. He is Aragorn, son of Arathorn. You owe him your allegiance.
So that's a huge reveal. You can see the shock on Boromir's face here. He is about to employ what I would say would be kind of a terror management theory. His entire world is changed by a true king of Gondor existing. For hundreds and hundreds of years, it's just been the stewards, which he is next in line for. His dad is currently the fill-in ruler for Gondor. So if a true heir exists, Aragorn here, that changes almost everything he knows about his life.
Aragorn. This is Isildur's heir.
And heir to the throne of Gondor.
Have a dad, Legolas.
Gondor has no king. Gondor needs no king.
So we can see that Boromir just kind of rejected that idea right then and there. Aragorn did a pretty good job with telling Legolas to sit down, just to get the conversation back to what we should be talking about, the ring. Okay, also, can we just talk about these two men sitting next to Boromir? Assumedly, they're from Gondor itself, otherwise they're just some random guys who walked in, and a claim to the throne of Gondor was just made, and they're sitting there just like, yep, whatever. This doesn't affect my life. They should be like, whoa, this is crazy. But they're just like, oh, no, chill. Just annoys me. Because I don't know what they're doing there.
We cannot use it.
You have only one choice. The ring must be destroyed.
And what are we waiting for?
I'm a bit surprised that nobody stopped Gimli from attempting to attack the ring, because it's pretty obvious it can't be destroyed.
The ring cannot be destroyed, Gimli, son of Glor.
And Elrond also knew that. So, like, why are you letting Gimli just break his axe for nothing?
By any craft that we here possess. The ring was made in the fires of Mount Doom. Only there can it be unmade. It must be taken deep into Mordor and cast back into the fiery chasm from whence it came. One of you must do this.
So, Elrond's pretty much just wrapped up the previous conflict about what do we need to do. I'd say that this statement is not entirely unexpected.
One does not simply walk into Mordor. Its black gates are guarded by more than just orcs. There is evil there that does not sleep. The great eye is ever watchful. It is a barren wasteland, riddled with fire, ash, and dust. The very air you breathe is a poisonous fume. Not with 10,000 men could you do this. It is folly.
Have you heard nothing Lord Elrond has said? The ring must be destroyed.
So, Boromir's statement was very factual. He has updated news on the terrain around Mordor. So Legolas is more off script from where this conversation should be going. It's again a kind of a personal insult towards Boromir.
And I suppose you think you're the one to do it.
So because Legolas had an unexpected outburst, Gimli clearly has rated that as a negative.
Well, what then? What happens when Sauron takes back what is his?
A very appropriate concern. But now we've got 3 people standing.
I will be dead before I see the ring in the hands of an elf.
Gimli will not let go of his conflict with Legolas now, which will only continue to spiral. Now everyone's standing and nobody's listening. They're just now yelling out their opinions on who they think should go, whether elves can be trusted, whether, the plan is at all even viable. That moment with Gandalf. So relatable. He's just like, these children cannot focus for more than 2 seconds. Here is where I think Gandalf could have used black speech a little bit more effectively, because at this point everyone's just yelling at each other. I haven't commented much on Frodo because really Frodo's not involved in this conflict at all. He just brought the ring here, so he does have experience carrying it and some first person learning with it, but doesn't actually know that much about what it can do, where it came from, or even what's out there in Middle-earth. He spent his whole life in the Shire, a very tranquil, conflict-free place. That's not to discount that he had a very rough journey getting here to Rivendell and has some idea, because the Ringwraiths did attack him, and he did travel with Aragorn to Rivendell. Everyone is just yelling at each other. Boom. Huge, unexpected statement from Frodo here. I'm not exactly sure what that face meant from Gandalf. He seems both sad but also resigned. Like he realizes this is the best plan.
I will take the ring to Mordor.
So, Frodo makes an excellent candidate because once the conflict has previously been about is who's going to take it and why everyone else can't take it. It's not gone into detail here in the movie, and we've already gone off script from the book a little bit. A huge factor in this conflict is that anyone with any power seems to be corrupted more easily by the ring. So Frodo makes an excellent candidate for this. He's also uninvolved with Middle-earth politics, so no one would be more qualified, I suppose.
I do not know the way.
I will help you bear this burden, Frodo Baggins, as long as it is yours to bear.
By my life or death, I can protect you. I will.
my sword. And you have my bow.
And my axe.
Carry the fate of us all, little one. If this is indeed the will of the Council, then Gondor will see it done.
Okay, before we get into the hobbits, so there was another potential for conflict, and people could have shot Frodo down because he's unprepared in almost every way besides having no power. But even without discussing it, Gandalf started a remedy to this and just volunteering, like, I'll help you out, little bro. And everyone else, without even discussing it, has agreed that that's the best plan.
Mr. Frodo's not going anywhere without me.
No, indeed, it is hardly possible to separate you, even when he is summoned to a secret council, and you are not.
So, Sam's appearance, unexpected, but I'd say this was maybe a positive. Like, Elrond's almost smiling there. So, this is one of the few examples in this conflict of a positive expectancy violation.
Wait! We're coming too! We'll have to send us all tied up in a sack to stop it.
Anyway, you need people of intelligence on this sort of mission. Quest. Thank you.
Well, that rules you out.
And that just really well demonstrates how little hobbits know about
9 companions. So be it. You shall be the Fellowship of the Ring.
Right. Where are we going?
So, our conflict is pretty much wrapped up, but not entirely. Pretty much everyone except Boromir is ready to take the ring to Mordor all the way. They're in it for the long run. Boromir, however, will continue to push for bringing the rings just to Gondor, which, I mean, is really close to Mordor, but that comes up again later in the movies. Other than that, I'd say this conflict is pretty much resolved. We've got a good cast of heroes to save Middle-earth.